Pre-trip inspection, Section A. This is Section A of the pre-trip inspection. First, I check the front of my truck to ensure it is not leaning left or right, which would indicate a broken leaf spring or flat tire. I also look under my truck for any hanging wires or puddles, which would indicate a leak. I have 5 marker lights properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and amber in color. My 2 hood mirrors are properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and has no illegal stickers. The only sticker I can have is gold, which is get out and look. These are my high beams and low beam headlights. They are clean and properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and are clear in color. This is my marker light. Is properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, amber in color, and has 3 functions: marker, turn signal, and hazard. This is my side marker light, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, amber in color, and also reflective and clean. Now we are still on Section A, passenger side engine. This is my upper and lower radiator hose, properly mounted and secured with clamps, not cracked or broken, and has no signs of abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my coolant reservoir, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, or leaking. My coolant is at the correct level between minimum and maximum and is sealed with a cap. This is my alternator, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and show no signs of corrosions. It is also belt driven. This is my water pump, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, or leaking. Both my water pump and alternator are belt driven. My belt has no more than 3/4 inch of play on the belt, with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my exhaust, properly mounted and secured with clamps, not cracked or broken, and shows no signs of black soot, which would indicate a leak. This is my frame, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and no illegal holes or welds. My frame supports my engine and other components. Now we are on the driver's side. This is my air compressor, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and shows no signs of leaks. It is also gear driven. This is my power steering pump, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken or leaking. Both my air compressor and power steering pump are gear driven. This is my power steering reservoir, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken or leaking. The power steering fluid is at the correct level between minimum and maximum and is sealed with the cap. These are my power steering hose, properly mounted and secured with clamps and show no signs of abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my oil dipstick, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. The way I check it is I take it out, wipe it off, put it back in, and take it out to see if it is at the correct level. This is my oil reservoir, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, or leaking. This is my steering shaft, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken or leaking. This is my power steering gearbox, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, or leaking. This is my pitman arm, drag link, steering knuckle, steering arm, and tie rod. They are properly mounted and secured with 3 castle nuts and 3 cotter pins, and they are not cracked or broken. This is my leaf spring mount, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. This is my leaf spring, properly mounted and secured with 2 U-bolts, 4 washers, 4 nuts, not cracked, broken, and show no signs of shifting. This is my shock absorber, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, or leaking. This is my brake hose and brake connector, properly mounted and secured to the brake chamber and show no signs of abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my brake chamber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, or leaking. This is my slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and has no more than 1 inch of play when the brakes are off. The slack adjuster and push rod is behind the brake chamber. This is my brake shoe, properly mounted and secured, and has no less than 1/4 inch of thickness. This is my brake drum, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. This is my tire. The inner and outer walls show no signs of abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. It has a minimum of 3/4 or 4/32 tread depth and has an even tread wear across the tire. The minimum air pressure for these tires is 100 psi. This is my rim, properly mounted and secured with lug nuts, not cracked, broken, and no illegal holes or wells. This is my lug nuts, properly mounted and secured and show no rust runs or metal shavings indicating a loose nut. This is my valve stem. This is my hub seal, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken or leaking. This is my valve stem, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, sealed with the cap, and has no audible leaks. This ends Section A of the pre-trip inspection. Now we are on Section B, the side of the truck. Now we are on Section B, the side of the truck. These are my door hinges, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. This is my door, properly mounted and secured to the hinges with bolts, not cracked or broken. This is my door handle, properly mounted and secured with bolts, and opens and closes properly. This is my door seal. It is not ripped or torn and has no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my side marker light, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and amber in color. It has 3 functions: marker, turn signals, and hazards. These are my steps. They are clean, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and is rated for my weight. This is my depth tank, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, or leaking, sealed with a cap. I look under my depth tank for any puddles, which would indicate a leak. This is my diesel tank. It is properly mounted and secured with 2 insulated straps, not cracked, broken, or leaking, and is sealed with a cap and chain. I look under my diesel tank for puddles, which would indicate a leak. Now we are on the back of the tractor. Still section B. This is my shock absorber, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, or leaking. This is my airbags, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my leaf spring mount, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. This is my leaf spring, properly mounted with 2 U-bolts, 4 washers, and 4 nuts, and my leaf springs show no signs of shifting and not cracked or broken. This is my brake hose and brake connectors, properly mounted and secured to the brake chamber with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my brake chamber, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken or leaking. This is my slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and has no more than 1 inch of play when the brakes are off. The slack adjuster and push rod is behind the brake chamber. This is my brake shoe, properly mounted and secured, has no less than 1/4 inch of thickness, not cracked or broken. This is my brake drum, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. This is my space buddy. It has no space between the rim and no debris between the tires. My space buddy has no space between the rim and no debris between the tires. This is my tire. The inner and outer wall has no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. Properly mounted and secured to rim. It has a minimum of 2/32 tread depth, and the tire pressure is a minimum of 100 psi. With even thread wear across the tire. This is my rim, properly mounted and secured with lug nuts, not cracked or broken, and has no illegal holes or welds. This is my lug nuts, properly mounted and secured, and it has no rust runs or metal shavings indicating a loose lug nut. This is my axle seal, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, or leaking. This is my valve stem, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, broken, or leaking, and sealed with a cap. This is my DOT reflective tape, not cut, torn, or missing, properly mounted and secured. These are my service lights, properly mounted and secured with screws, not cracked, broken, and clear in color. This is my exhaust, properly mounted and secured with clamps, not cracked, broken, and shows no black soot indicating a leak. This is my drive shaft, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. The drive shaft would be big and black. This is my catwalk steps, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, clean and rated for my weight. This is my torque rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. This is my frame, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, no illegal holes and welds. It supports my cab and other parts. Back of truck on the trailer. We are still on section B. This is my mud flap, properly mounted and secured with bolts, has no more than 6 inches. This is my mud flap, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not torn or ripped, and is no more than 6 inches off the ground. This is my DOT reflective tape, properly mounted and secured, not cut, torn, or missing. These are my reflectors, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and red in color. These are my 2 marker lights, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, red in color, and has 4 functions: markers, turn signals, hazards, and brakes. This is my reverse light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and clear in color. This ends section B of the pre-trip. This ends section B of the pre-trip. This is my header board, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and has no holes or leaks or illegal welds. This is my top marker light, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, amber in color. And it has 3 functions: turn signals, markers, and hazards. This is my DOT reflective tape, properly mounted and secured, not ripped, torn, or missing, and goes from the front of my trailer to the back of my trailer. This is my landing gear, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, bent, or broken. This is my landing gear crank handle, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and is in the lock position. This is my side marker light, properly mounted and secured with bolts, amber in color, and has 3 functions: marker, turn signals, and hazards. This is my frame, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, with no illegal holes or welds. These are my cross members, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, broken, bent, or twisted. This is my tandem frame, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. These are my tandem locking pins, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and are out and in the locked position. This is my tandem slider, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. This is my tandem release handle, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and it is in the locked position. Now we on the rear trailer tires. This is my torque rod, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. The torque rod is behind the leaf spring mount. This is my leaf spring mount, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. This is my leaf spring, properly mounted and secured with 2 U-bolts, 4 washers, and 4 nuts, not cracked or broken, and show no signs of shifting. This is my brake hose and brake connector, properly mounted and secured to my brake chamber with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my brake chamber, properly mounted with bolts, not cracked and broken, not cracked or broken, or leaky. This is my slack adjuster and push rod, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and has no more than 1 inch of play when brakes are off. This is my brake shoe, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and has no less than 1/4 inch of thickness. This is my brake drum, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. This is my tire. My inner and outer wall show no signs of abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. The minimum tread depth on these tires is 232 seconds of tread depth. The tire pressure on these tires is minimum of 100 psi with even tread wear across the tires. This is my rim, properly mounted and secured with lug nuts, not cracked, broken, no illegal holes, no illegal wheels. This is my lug nut, properly mounted and secured, no rust runs or metal shavings indicating a loose lug nut. This is my hub seal, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken or leaking. This is my valve stem, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and sealed with a cap. This is my ABS light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, amber in color. This is my rear marker light, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and red in color. This is my mud flap, properly mounted and secured, not ripped or torn, and at least 6 inches from the ground. This is my clearance lights, my 3 clearance lights, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, and red in color. My DOT tape goes across the top of my doors, down the sides, across the bottom of the trailer doors, and across the DOT bumper, properly mounted and secured, not ripped, torn, or missing. These are my door hinges, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. These are my locking arms, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. These are my handles, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. These are my marker lights, which are properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken, red in color, and has 4 functions: marker, turn signals, hazards, and brakes. This is my door seal, properly mounted and secured, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my tag light, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and clear in color. This is my bumper, properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked or broken. This is my 3 points of contact. I will demonstrate. And this completes, after demonstrating, this completes section C of the pre-trip inspection. After we have completed either A, B, or C of the pre-trip inspection, we will do our coupling. These are my 6 points of contact, which includes 2 air lines and electrical lines. This is my service line. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my emergency line with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. And this is my electrical lines. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. All lines are properly mounted and secured. These are my glad hands, properly mounted and securely connected, in good working condition, with no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. These are my rubber garments. They have no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or leaks. This is my electrical connector, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, no debris, and securely locked in place. This is my apron, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, no illegal holes or welds. This is my 5th wheel, properly mounted and secured. This is my 5th wheel skid plate, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and is properly greased. This is my 5th wheel release handle, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, and in the lock position. This is my platform, properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken. While I'm under here, I'm checking my lock jaws to ensure they are secured around the shank of the kingpin, and they are. I have 3 feet between my truck and trailer. I have 0 space between my apron and 5th wheel, and at least 3 feet between the mud flap and landing gear. This concludes the coupling. Now we are ready for the in-cab inspection. My seat belt is not torn, frayed, or cut. It is properly mounted and bolted to the floor. It latches and unlatches properly. I have 2 fire extinguishers, properly mounted and secure. They are up to date, fully charged, and is rated for ABC fires. I have 3 reflective triangles. They are not cracked or broken. They are red and orange in color and properly mounted and secured. I have 6 spare fuses. The only one I do not have is circuit breakers. These are my side mirrors. They are properly mounted and secured with bolts, not cracked, chipped, or broken, with no illegal stickers. The only sticker I can have is gold, which is get out and look. My windshield is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, chipped, or broken. If any chips, it cannot be no larger than a quarter. Now I will safe start my truck. Don't crank up the whole engine. Just safe start it. Now I will safe start my truck. My ABS and def light went on and off, which would indicate that they are working properly. Now I will start the engine. Now I will demonstrate. Crank, 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 crank. It's crank up. My coolant gauge reads between 180 and 190 degrees. My voltage reads between 12 and 14 volts. Anything less than 12, my truck may not start. My primary and secondary gauges reads between 100 and 125 psi. My oil level gauge reads between 30 and 60 psi. Now I will check my windshield wipers and fluid. Now I will demonstrate. My windshield wipers and fluids are working properly. Now I will check my defrost and heat. Now I will demonstrate. I will check. All right. Turn knob down to foot. After checking, say defrost and heat is working properly. Make sure you place hands at top and bottom to ensure that it is working properly. Now I will check my lights. Will you assist me, please? Check left turn signal, right turn signal, brake lights, high beams, low beams, and hazards. Then say, my lights are working properly. Now I will check my city horn and air horn. I will demonstrate. Beep, beep, honk, honk. My city horn and air horn is working properly. Now it is time for my brake test. First, I will test my parking brake by pushing in the red valve. Put truck in drive and push gas. Then put truck in neutral. Make sure that you keep foot on brake and release red valve and say, this truck is equipped with a safety mechanism that will not allow my truck to move when my trailer brakes are not engaged. Now I will test my trailer brakes. Push in yellow valve, put truck in drive, and tug 2 times. Now I will demonstrate. After demonstrations, then say this test was a success. My trailer brakes held. Now I will test my service brakes. I will push in both valves and drive between 4 and 5 miles per hour. My steering wheel should not move left or right, indicating brakes or suspension problems. Now I will demonstrate. The service brake test was a success. My steering wheel did not move left or right, indicating brakes or suspension problems. There was no play in my steering wheel. Now I will do my leak test. I will turn truck off, take key out of ignition, take off seatbelt, go outside, chop my tires, then get back in. I will safe start my truck again. I will hold the brake for 1 minute, and I should not lose no more than 4 psi. Will you time me, please? Within that minute, will you time me, please? Now I will demonstrate. I did not lose no more than 4 psi within that minute. This test was a success. Now I will feather my brakes. My low pressure alarm light will come on at or before 55 psi. Now I will demonstrate. This test was a success. My low pressure alarm light came on at or before 55 psi. Now I will continue to feather my brakes. When my air pressure reaches between 45 and 20 psi, both my valves will pop out. Now I will demonstrate. Feather, 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 plop. Both my trailer and parking valve came out at or before 45 to 20. Between 45 and 20 psi. This test was a success. Now I will test my governor. I will have to turn on the engine, and I will rev up my engine, and between 120 and 140 psi, my governor will cut out. Now I will demonstrate. Turn on engine. You don't have to do nothing else but put your feet on the gas and just wait. Think of anything that you missed during that time while you are waiting for the governor to cut out. Did you miss anything? Think of it. If not, once you hear the governor say, "That was my governor," it cut out between 120 and 140 psi. Then turn off the truck, unbuckle your seatbelt, and say, "This completes my in-cab inspection." Thank you. Thank you very much.